Page 189, lesson 4.1 is on writing and evaluating algebraic expressions. So on 189 it says Mr. Ramirez's class was playing a game in which students need to match sticky notes that have equivalent expressions. How can you sort the expressions into groups? So finding equivalent expressions, what we would be doing is trying to simplify the expressions. For example, if we look at 8p plus 2p minus 8, we know 8p plus 2p are like terms we can combine, which would equal 10p. So that would be 10p minus 8. Notice right here we have a 10p minus 8. So those actually are equivalent to each other. And we could go through and do that for the rest of these as well, finding all the equivalent expressions. Example 1, an automatic dog feeder dispenses 2/5 of a cup of dog food each day. What expression can the dog owner use to determine the amount of food left in the feeder after D days? So you can see from the picture there were 20 cups of food to begin with, and it's dispensing 2/5 of a cup each day. So one of the ways we could do this, they drew a bar diagram, and you could see 2/5 times D is going to be how much food is dispensed in D days. So it's 2/5 of a cup times however many days that they're getting food here. So to see how much is left, this would be our expression. We started out with 20 cups of food, and we're losing 2/5 of a cup per day. So 20 minus 2/5 D, and we could just substitute in place of D to figure out how much food is left. Masumi started with $217 in her bank account. She deposits $25.50 each week and never withdraws any money. What expression can Masumi use to determine her account balance after W weeks? All right, so like we've been doing, we're going to try to go through and highlight some things here. Started with $217, deposits $25.50 each week, never withdraws any money. We want to determine the account balance after W weeks. So they've kind of started us out here with a guideline of what we're going to be doing. They wouldn't have had to do this, but they're kind of helping us out since we're getting started with this. One thing make sure you know about is depositing means putting money into the bank. So when we deposit money, we put money into the bank, that's going to increase the money that's in our bank account. So our expression for this, we started with $217 and we're adding $25.50 each week. So 217 plus $25.50 times W would be an expression we could use to find her account balance after W weeks. So for example, if we wanted to find her account balance after 10 weeks, we would just substitute a 10 in place of the W. 25.50 times 10 would be multiplying by 10 would move our decimal one spot, would be 255, and so then that would be a total of $472. Good. Okay, and again, that's not a question they asked, but just for an example of how we might use that. Example 2, the expression 999D plus 1299C can be used to find the total cost of D pounds of almonds and C pounds of cashews. How much does it cost to buy 1.5 pounds of almonds and 2.5 pounds of cashews? So they came up with their expression based off of the cost here. Almonds are $9.90 a pound, so that's how they got the $9.99 a pound. That's how they got $9.99 times D. Not sure why they didn't use A for almonds, but that's okay. And then $12.99 C because it's $12.99 for each pound of cashews. So that was the expression. They said for 1.5 pounds of almonds, 2.5 pounds of cashews. So we are just substituting 1.5 in place of the D, 2.5 in place of the C. They worked that out. Obviously, if we were allowed to use calculators, the 1.5 we could put as 1.5, 2.5 we could put as
2.5.
Okay, and work that out. They added those together. If you'll notice, those costs initially went to the thousandths place. They didn't round. They added them together, and then it actually worked out to the nearest cent, $47.46. So if you look at the try it, the cost to rent a scooter is $15.50 per hour. Cost to rent a watercraft is $22.80 per hour. Use the expression 15.5S plus 22.8W to determine how much it would cost to rent a scooter for 3.5 hours and a watercraft for 1 3/4 hours. So think about what you would do for that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So the first step, starting with our expression here, we are going to substitute. S is the hours renting the scooter, so we would substitute 3.5 in place of the S. And W is for the watercraft, so we would substitute 1 3/4 in place of W. Like we did earlier, so we can change our fractions to decimals here. 3.5 is the same as 3 5/10. And 3/4 is the same. 1 3/4 same as 1 75/100. If you forget the decimals for those, 3/4 means 3 divided by 4. At that point, order of operations, we have two things happening here, multiplication and addition. And we know the first thing we would need to do out of those options would be multiply. Good. So if we multiply 15 5/10 by 3 5/10,
You get 54 and 25 hundredths.
54 2500ths. Okay. And if you multiply 22 8/10 by 1 7500ths,
24.
Olivia, $39.90. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we would add those together.
You get 94 and 50.
Okay, good. So $94.15. Okay. Now on the calculators you guys normally use, technically, once you substituted, once you got to this stage, you could actually type that all in once in your calculator, and it would actually work that out for you. But again, we don't always have calculators, so we should probably go step by step of what we'd be doing, showing both multiplication operations happening before the addition. Example 3, Malik and two friends earn M dollars in 1 week doing odd jobs. They split the earnings so that each friend gets 1/3 of the total earnings. Malik uses $33.50 of his earnings on lunch each week. Last week, the three friends earned $963. How much money did Malik have left after paying for lunch? So, if they ask us to do this, if we have to write an expression first, that's what they did here. They said to see how much Malik got, he got 1/3 of that total amount, and then minus $32.50 that he paid for his lunches. So that would be an expression. The total amount that they got the 1 week was $963, so we'll just take 1/3 of that and then subtract $32.50, and they got $288.50. Another way we could do that, besides taking 1/3 of that, we could take that M divided by 3. That would be doing the same thing. We look at the try it. Amelia earns $8.74 per hour plus a gas allowance of $3.50 per day at her job. How much does Amelia's job pay in a day when she works 5.5 hours? Write an expression and evaluate for 5.5 hours. So this specifically says for us to write an expression. Remember, an expression versus an equation. An expression does not have an equal sign in it. So we're going to write something does not have an equal sign that we're just going to be simplifying here in a minute. So $8.74 per hour plus her gas allowance is $3.50 per day. Like we've done before, probably one thing we would want to do here is to define a variable. The variable, the things that's going to be changing is how many hours she was working. So we could say something like, let H represent the number of hours Amelia works. And we could be a little more specific. We could say in a day. They're not going to complicate things for us here. This is all just in one day, so we don't have to work out with, basically, we could have two variables, hours and days, but in this case, they're just doing this in one day. So our expression, first of all, we're going to be using our variable here. It's $8.74 per hour. So we're going to do 874 times H. So she gets $8.74 an hour times however many hours she works, plus the $3.50 allowance. And that's just what she gets per day for the allowance. So that's not based off how many hours she's working. Just by her working that day, she's getting the $3.50 gas allowance. So when we take our expression, when we evaluate this, we're going to evaluate it for 5.5 hours. So we're just going to substitute in place of the H. We're going to substitute with 5.5, which we know is the same as 5 5/10. Then we're just going to do our order of operations. We have multiplication and addition. So once again, we will do the multiplication first. So $8.74 times 5 5/10. $48.07. Okay. So we got $48.07 is what she's going to make for her 5.5 hours working, plus the $3.50 gas allowance. Brings her total to
$51.57.
Good. Okay, so for that day she would earn $51.50 before taxes and Social Security and all that stuff gets taken out. Let's look at the do you know how number 4. A tank containing 35 gallons of water is leaking at a rate of 1/4 of a gallon per minute. Write an expression to determine the number of gallons left in the tank after M minutes. So our expression on this one, we are starting with 35 gallons. It's leaking, so we're losing water, so we're going to subtract 1/4 of a gallon times however many minutes. So 35 minus 1/4 M would be our expression there. Another option, you could write this as a decimal. You could say 35 minus 25 hundredths times m. 1/4 is the same as 25 hundredths. So either one of those would be okay. And they're all only just asking us to write the expression there. They're not asking us to solve anything. If we look at number 5, again, they want us to start out by writing an algebraic expression that Marshall can use to determine the total cost of buying a watermelon that weighs W pounds and some tomatoes that weigh T pounds. How much will it cost to buy a watermelon that weighs 18.5 pounds and 5 pounds of tomatoes? So again, the first thing is for us to come up with an expression. We're going to write an expression using our variables, and then from there we're going to substitute and figure out what the actual cost would be in this situation. So our expression to start out with, we're just going to write this using our variables. So with our variables, we have watermelons and we have tomatoes. So the watermelons are 68 cents a pound. So we do 68 hundredths, 68 cents times W, which is our pound for the watermelon. And then plus the tomatoes are 3.25 a pound, so that'd be 3.25 times T, which is our pounds of tomatoes. That is our expression to start out with. After we've written our expression, this is right what they asked us to do here, write an algebraic expression, okay? Now that we've done that, now we can substitute in. So the watermelon weighs 18.5, so we can put 18 5/10 for that. And the tomatoes weigh 5 pounds. Once again, we're going to be doing the multiplication before we do the addition.
For the tomatoes, you get 16.25.
Okay, so 12.58 plus 16.25.
Is 28.83.
Good. So $28.83 would be our total cost then.